College football is one of the greatest things in the world. Seeing upsets, watching your favorite team win. So many good bowl games to finish off the season, but I always leave the season wondering, what if these teams played each other? What would happen if these teams went up against each other? Because conferences do not let it happen. So, in today's video, I will be building the first ever mega conference, and I'll be putting the best college football teams from this year in one conference and seeing who will battle it out and come out on top. For this experiment, we will be using the SEC. So here is the SEC East. This is what it's looking like. Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Utah, Michigan, LSU, Florida State, and Washington. And then on the SEC West, we have Georgia, Clemson, Oregon, USC, Tennessee, Penn State, Kansas State, and TCU. All of these teams were ranked at the end of the year, and personally, I think these are the 16 best college football teams from the 2022-2023 season. So we're going to sim a year and see who can come out on top and who's going to fold under pressure every week having to play your best ball. Every single week you will see games like Florida State, TCU, USC and Michigan, Clemson and Georgia, and Notre Dame and LSU. Games like these, teams got to show up every single game or they're going to fall down in the conference, and only two teams can make the championship and battle it out to see who can come on top. So let's hop into the season. I'll see you mid-season and we'll check out how teams are doing. It is mid-season, and Georgia and Ohio State are the only two undefeated teams left. The two teams that played the best game of the year in real life. USC is 5-1, right behind them. Alabama 4-1, Michigan 5-1, Utah 3-1, Clemson 2-4, not good at all. TCU 3-3, Washington 3-2, Kansas State 3-2. Florida State 3-3, Tennessee 2-3, Notre Dame 1-5. See, if they were in a conference with any decent teams, they would not be good. I've been saying that for years, but they decided to stay independent. LSU 1-4 and Penn State 2-2, and Oregon has not won a game in the conference. 0-3 in the conference, 1-4. And they are in dead last of the SEC. This is what the SEC East rankings are looking like. Ohio State on top, Alabama and Michigan right behind, and then LSU and Notre Dame in dead last. And then the SEC West, Georgia and USC up top, with Oregon and Penn State haven't won a single conference game. This is a Georgia and USC race. It looks like nobody else is really close or in striking distance. It looks like it's going to come down to Georgia and USC in the West, and then in the East, it looks like Ohio State, Alabama, and Michigan, and even Utah still have a chance to win this conference. Let's get sim to the end of the year, and we'll see who comes out on top. Here they are, the final standings after every single regular season game has been played. Georgia finishes number 1 in the conference, 11-0, going 9-0 in the conference, with their only loss coming to an out-of-conference South Carolina loss in overtime. Ohio State goes 10-2, 7-2 in the conference, and their losses came against Alabama and Washington. And then USC came in third, 10-2, tied with Ohio State, but they are in the same side as Georgia, so they will not be representing that side in the SEC championship. So Michigan, fourth, they went 9-3, 6-3 in the conference. Alabama, 8-4, 6-3 in the conference, and their losses were to Michigan, Georgia, and LSU, and Auburn to finish the end of the year. Rough year for them. TCU 5-4 in the conference, 7-5 overall, about where I thought TCU would be in a conference full of this many good teams. Kansas State 7-5, also with a 4-5 conference record. They did better than I thought. Florida State 6-6 with a 4-5 conference record. Utah 6-6, and LSU also 6-6. Penn State 7-5. Washington 7-5, but they're below the others due to their conference record and probably head-to-head. Oregon 5-7, 3-6 in the conference. Clemson 2-7 in the conference. Tennessee 2-7 in the conference, and Notre Dame rounding out the bottom with a 1-8 conference record and a 2-10 overall record. They are frauds, as we all expected. If they were in a conference full of good teams, that is right where they would be. Georgia and Ohio State are in the conference championship. Who is going to win it all? Let's watch. Here we go. The college football national championship. The two best teams from the SEC mega conference, Ohio State and Georgia. In real life, they played the best game of the season, and let's see what's going to happen in this championship. After one quarter, C.J. Stroud and the Buckeyes take a 7-0 lead, but Georgia and Stetson Bennett are driving. Georgia brings it back and ties it up right before the half, heading into the second half, all tied up. Both teams put up a touchdown in the third quarter, so it's going to come down to one final quarter who can come out on top and win the mega conference. It all comes down to this. 4th and 5, C.J. Stroud and the Buckeyes offense needs a first down and a whole lot more yards. They need a touchdown. They're going to run the ball on 4th down, and they're going to lose. Georgia wins the mega conference season 1. Let's hop into season 2 and see who can win the second season. Midway through the second season, and this conference is looking so different. A lot of teams have fallen. A lot of teams have risen. This is what it's looking like. USC atop the top of the conference with a 6-1 record, followed by Florida State, Washington. Notre Dame has come all the way from last year to 4th this year and a chance to make the conference championship. Georgia has dropped all the way down to 5, LSU at 6, Alabama at 7, Penn State at 8. Ohio State has dropped all the way from number 2 all the way down to number 9. Michigan at 10, Tennessee 11, Kansas State 12, Utah 13, Clemson 14, which is a big drop for them. TCU 15, they dropped a while. I think they were 6th last year. Oregon 16th, they are in last. This is what it's looking like midway through the second season. It looks like the championship is going to be two completely different teams. Let's see who it's going to be. At the end of season 2, we have a brand new conference championship. USC will be taking on Washington. Ohio State made a good run at it, but they lost to Washington in the regular season. So Washington has the head-to-head and will be taking on USC in the championship. Notre Dame finishes in 4th. Big improvement from last year. Michigan at 5. Georgia drops from 1 to 6 and nowhere near the conference championship. Alabama right around 7 last year. Tennessee at 8. Penn State at 9. LSU at 10. Kansas State at 11. Florida State dropped all the way down to 12. I believe they were at 2 when we looked at it in the middle of the season. Oregon jumped up to 13. They were in last. Clemson at 14, Utah at 15, and TCU dropped all the way to the worst team in the conference, losing Max Duggan. Terrible for them, but let's hop into this championship and see who's going to be crowned the Mega Conference Champion of Year 2. Here we go. Season 2 of the Mega Conference comes down to this one game. Washington and the Huskies taking on Caleb Williams and USC, who's going to come out on top. After one quarter, both teams put up a touchdown, but Caleb Williams and USC are driving. Washington takes their first lead of the game, and they take it into halftime, up 7. Washington adds a touchdown to their lead. They're up 14 heading into the fourth quarter. Is Caleb Williams going to blow another big game, or can they come back? It does not look like Caleb Williams is going to be able to bring them back. They lose 31-21 as Washington, out of everybody, I did not think Washington would win this mega conference, but that is exactly what they did. Washington has won mega conference championship to go along with Georgia's. We're going to head into the third and final season and see if another team can get a mega conference championship. Midway through the third and final season, and USC is back on top. but we have a new number 2 midway through the season, and it is Alabama. They are back. They've struggled the first 2 seasons of the Mega Conference, but they're back in the top 2 with a chance to go to the championship. With Ohio State at 3, Utah at 4, Georgia at 5. They were 6 last year. Little improvement, but don't look like they're going to make the conference championship. Michigan at 6, Oregon at 7. Washington dropped all the way down to 8 after winning the championship last season. Florida State at 9, Tennessee at 10, LSU at 11, Clemson at 12, TCU at 13, Penn State at 14, Kansas State at 15, and Notre Dame back on the bottom where they belong at 16. I'll see you at the end of the season to see the final season rankings and see who's going to the championship. Right now, the championship would be Alabama versus USC. USC finishes the final season on top once again for the second season in a row. But can they finish it off and win the conference championship where they'll be taking on Ohio State, who finished first in the SEC East? They beat out Alabama barely with one more win in the conference, and then SEC West USC beat out Georgia. These are the final rankings of the final season. USC, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Oregon, Washington, Florida State, Penn State, Utah, Clemson, Tennessee, LSU, TCU, Kansas State, and Notre Dame finished last 2 out of the 3 seasons. So let's hop into USC versus Ohio State to see if one of these teams can pick up one of the 3 mega conference championships. Here we go. Ohio State made it to the first mega conference championship, and USC made it to the second mega conference championship, but both teams fell short, but one has to win today. Who is it gonna be? USC or Ohio State? Let's find out. After one quarter, both teams have put up a touchdown, but USC is driving. USC with a big second quarter. Ohio State gets a touchdown late in the quarter to make it a 1-possession lead for USC heading into the half. Ohio State comes out hot in the third quarter, and they take a 3-point lead heading into the fourth quarter. This one is looking like a close ending. Ohio State with a 3rd and 8 with a minute 20 left, up 3. If they can pick up this first down, it's all over. They're going to run a halfback dive, and they're only going to get 2 yards, which is going to force them to kick a field goal, but they can run it all the way down to about 30 seconds. It all comes down to this. Ohio State up 6, 4th and 10 for USC. They need to pick it up, and they only have 19 seconds to score a touchdown, but they throw it under, and that is going to do it. Ohio State wins a mega conference championship along with Georgia and Washington. In the 3 years that we simmed, those are the mega conference champions. I hope you guys did enjoy this video idea. Who do you think would win a conference like this? Would it be the SEC teams like Georgia, Alabama, or would it be an Ohio State, a USC, a Michigan, teams like that? Do you think conferences are going to become mega conferences, or do you think they're always going to have these conferences? Let me know down below. Hit the subscribe button and like the video if you did enjoy, and let me know other things I can do on this channel. We just hit 1,000 subs on the road to 5K. Let's get there.